This is Metal Mike, and in this episode of the 80's Glam Metalcast, I talk with vocalist Michael Olivieri from the M.O.B band and formerly of Leatherwolf. We talk about his new album, Is Contagious, and we revisit all those classic Leatherwolf albums. Check it out.
Michael, welcome to the 80's Glam Metalcast. How you doing tonight, man?
Mike, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
So, you've got a brand new album coming out, and for some of the old Leatherwolf fans out there who have never heard it, how would you describe it? Why don't you tell everybody about it?
It's a soulful record. It's not heavy metal. It's rock, and it's kind of a throwback to some '70s records of the influences I grew up on with Pink Floyd, Eagles, Beatles, Trower, things like that. It's all the songs. I wrote all the songs, and there's kind of just a batch of songs that hit home to me. And I have a great band that helped me put this all together. Buzzy James did all the slide guitar and most of the solos on there, if not all. And Tom Crucier, Juan's brother from Rat, is my bass player, and then Ty Dennis is our drummer. He plays for Robbie Krieger and the other people. And a couple girls sing, Trish Burke, Manzer, and Dawn Saylor, two girls that sing backup with me there. So we just have a real vocal kind of a blend with the two girls and me. It's a real soulful, kind of a throwback to Joe Cocker, maybe a little bit, I would say. I'm not sure what boat to put it in. But it's a collection of songs that strike really deep to my soul and roots of music that I'm pretty proud of. So I can't wait for everybody to hear it.
What's the name of the album and what's the date of the release?
The name of the album is Is Contagious. It's out. It's in print right now, so I'll be getting copies probably in a few weeks. I'll be taking some pre-orders, but basically it'll be available, streaming on all the streaming, and you can get CDs and vinyl off my website or at the shows.
So you sent me a couple tracks to listen to, and I got to be honest, man, I really enjoyed them. I was blown away. Kind of I caught on to them pretty quickly. A lot of times you'll hear a song and it doesn't connect with you. But I got to say, these are pretty straightforward songs, very well written. And I also think that a well-written song could work in any genre of music. You know what I mean? It can be rock, it can be country. These are just well-written songs. And I definitely pick up on the bluesy rock, the southern rock. Walk on Wine, I felt like there was some Beatles overtones in there a little bit, right?
Right, yeah, uh-huh.
And then...
influences are definitely going to show through, yeah.
And in Four Post Bed, I hear some Stones on that one.
Yeah, that one's kind of got a bluesy rockin', cool. It's tough to tell tell somebody what your music sounds like, because you always think, it doesn't sound like anything else. But I'll let everybody else tell me what they think it sounds like. But it's got some Stones, Black Crowsy, Joe Cocker kind of vibe in there. It's all that kind of whole stew of good old bluesy rock. It's just it's a formula that just people love and I love, and it'll probably never go away. At least I hope.
But I gotta say, overall, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting sound that you really can't put your finger on. Like I said, you're naming a lot of different acts, and really it all comes together to make a unique sound. And I don't think it's too far from somebody who grew up in the '80s. If you love the '80s rock, I don't think it's that much of a stretch from that either.
No, I don't, and I think people will be surprised and well receptive. The last record I put out, the last M.O.B record, it had a lot of country overtones and southern rock, and I didn't even pick up an electric guitar through that whole record. I played mostly acoustic and piano, Wurlitzer Rhodes, and more acoustic-based instruments. They had K.K. Martin and Buzzy James playing guitar, so I didn't really need to add to that mix. But I don't think that was received as well as this one will be. This is just way more straight up a rock where people. It's more of a universal sound, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Than so niche based as my last one. Although that did good and it was well received, and a lot of people tell me it's their favorite record. That's always good to hear. But I'm really excited about this new one, and I can't wait for people to hear it and just see what people have to say, either positive or negative. I'm always listening to other people's music and just trying to stay inspired and keep writing. I got a whole other batch of tunes ready to go. My band can't even keep up with me.
So before we started recording, you mentioned that you are also working on like a metal project. Want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, myself, Cole Jones, Luke Mann, and Pat Guyton, who did the last Leatherwolf European tour. All four of us are no longer a part of the Leatherwolf organization, but we continue to write. We have a good selection of songs. We're working on a concept record, and it's a pretty deep story. A lot of parts, a lot of changes. These kids are crazy good guitar players. And when I say kids, they're like 23, 20, 22, but they're just incredible guitar players, incredible musicians. More than that, just great people, and that's the most important thing to work with. It for me, just to go start another metal band outside of Leatherwolf, it would have to be just a situation that just felt great with great people and a good chemistry. And I found that in these guys. So we've been writing and working out the songs, and we actually just did a show. It was on my birthday, actually, on January 4th. We did there's a club out here called Jezebel's, and it's been closed for a number of years, but back in the day, all the bands played there, from Metallica, Megadeth, you name it. Everybody played Jezebel's. But they do a reunion party every year, and we did a show under the moniker Triple Axe Attack, and we played a set of Leatherwolf tunes, 9, 10, 11 songs. But that was great to play those songs again, and so we have this chemistry in the band built already around what we did in Leatherwolf, and pretty excited about these new songs we're writing. And we haven't really come up with a name yet, so it's in its organic stages, in the beginning stages. But yeah, looking forward to that, and we're working really hard on that. As a matter of fact, we're getting together tomorrow night to continue on.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your past bandmates and Leatherwolf. I know you guys parted ways last year. They took to Facebook. I'll just read a little clip of it. From an earlier Facebook post, we parted ways with vocalist Michael Olivieri for the second time. This move became inevitable due to disagreements over the band's musical direction, as well as business and personal issues. So, what musical direction were you trying to go in that they didn't want to go in?
Quite honestly, I don't think that is that portion of it is not a totally true statement. I wanted to do what we've always done. I wanted to be, that band that Leatherwolf always has been, and that's, if you look at our catalog, we had the Way I Feel on Street Ready, and we had, Gypsies and Thieves and Princess of Love and Share a Dream and Lonely Road. Not only hardcore metal made up our ingredients. It was what made us special in my experience is that we could take from different styles and influences, and that's what created Leatherwolf, as far as I'm concerned. With songs like Cry Out, and I don't think we were a very predictable band. We were not heavy enough for the thrashers, and I think we were too heavy for the we fit somewhere in between, but I have great memories and still love the guys. I wish them, the best of success with Leatherwolf. There's no animosity or hard feelings. It's all good.
Do you think that that's what you just kind of touched on was part of the problem why the band never really broke huge, because it was kind of confusing with like I said, you dabbled in a lot of different styles in one act.
Yeah, and maybe they strike on the right formula, and they'll release a hard and heavy, straightforward record like New World Asylum. The last thing that we did was a great record. I didn't have anything to do with the writing in that record, but as far as the reason that I'm not in the band, to say it's about that is not a totally true statement, although it's there's a small piece of the pie of maybe that's why, but I don't want to go into details and personal issues of the dynamics of how the band was going, but I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Is there only one original member at this point?
From what I understand, Jeff is back in the band.
Okay.
Jeff Gare and Dean, of course.
So let's go back to your 1987 Island self-titled album. Does that sound still pretty good to you?
Does it sound still pretty good to me? Yeah, obviously, hindsight now that I've made some records and kind of know how I want them to sound. It's a little over the top, but I think that's what made it eponymous and it's kind of grandiose. But I think it was what it needed to be at the time.
Yeah, man.
Street Ready came along, and I think I'm not dogging Michael Wagner at all, but I think if the record would have just been better off left in Kevin Beamish's hands to mix it. I think Michael was so burned out on the Skid Row project he just got off of, and then he was throwing our mix in his lap right after that. So I think I don't think his ears were ready for it just yet. But yeah, it is what it is.
If you had to,
still proud of those records.
Yeah, man, dude, I got to be honest with you. When we first talked about doing this interview, I played both of those in my car for about 2 weeks, and I gotta say, every single song on both of those is great. They're solid albums.
Thank you. Yeah, we had this pretty good original kind of chemistry that we had with me, Jeff, and Carrie in the songwriting. It was a great combination of, I won't say totally different styles, but or different backgrounds, but we had such a respect for each other to listen to each other's ideas and work them out and see if they work. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't, but back in the day we always had this free kind of a vibe. It's like, let's try this. We were very eclectic in some of our early songwriting. I'm listening back to some of the things we first started writing. It's like, holy smokes. But actually, our first gig we ever did, we opened up for Accept at this place called the Concert Factory in Costa Mesa. I believe this was 82. It's because we were just a cover band for a couple of years. And I wasn't even the singer. We had 6 people in the band, 3 guitar players and then another singer. Jeff's brother Wendell was actually our first singer. And so we played a mixture of Iron Maiden, Priest, Scorpion, Tigers of Pantang, early British metal kind of stuff, basically. And then we got a gig opening for Accept, but we had to, I think the clause was we had to play all originals. And our singer didn't know any originals. So we just did like an original, we just did an instrumental set without a singer. It was the craziest thing. And then soon after that, we were looking for singers and auditioning them. And at rehearsals, I would sing just to get us through. And then one day we played a backyard party, which we played a lot of. In Southern California, it was in the early 80s. There was backyard parties everywhere all the time. Played this backyard party. Our singer didn't show up, and they said, "Hey, man, you're singing tonight." I'm like, "What? I'm not going to sing." So I think me and Jeff walked over to the liquor store, got me I think we got a bottle of Lord Calvert or something. And I was like, "I can sing. I can do this." So that was kind of the conception in the beginning of Leatherwolf.
Well, I think you got a killer voice, obviously now and especially back then. Who were your influences coming up as a vocalist?
In rock, obviously Rob Halford and Paul Di'Anno, Klaus Meine, Geddy Lee. If I go farther back than that, it's Glenn Frey and Dwayne Allman and those kind of voices. Billy Preston, Joe Cocker. But in the rock, world, it's that. And then, it progressed into and Dio started to blow my mind, and there's tons of great singers, Graham Bonnet, and to this day, there's still a lot of great singers. Robin McCauley's still just an incredible singer.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, and Paul Shortino still can belt. So there's some guys that can still bring it. It's pretty cool to watch. Andrew Freeman's one of the best singers, on our spectrum of peers. So yeah, there's a lot of great voices out there I love.
It was funny. I was online looking up some stuff. Obviously, I do a lot of research before we do an interview. And there was this T-shirt from Island Records, and Vane, the band Vane, was at the bottom. Leatherwolf was in the middle, and Anthrax was up on top. And I was like, you know what?
I remember that.
This makes sense, kind of, right? Because Leatherwolf isn't like Vane, and Leatherwolf isn't like Anthrax per se. They might have a little bit of elements of each, but they're right in the middle of those kind of sounds. I mean, you agree with that, kind of?
Yeah, I do remember. And I think there was one other band on that. It was another island. I think it was Bad Brains.
Yeah, there was somebody else. I wasn't sure who it was. Yeah,
something like that. I forget who it was. But yeah, we were Island's little write-off.
So
we're making way too much money. Making way too much money with U2 and Robert Palmer and Melissa Etheridge. Where are we going to lose money on? Hey, man, there's these kids in Southern California that are dying for a record deal. Let's get them. Hey, what if we send them to our studio at Compass Point Studios? And yeah, that'll cost a bunch of money. Sure. Yeah. Which was a great time, by the way. Going out to Compass Point and recording those records, it was just incredible memories.
Oh, I can only imagine. And when you listen to that album, there's all kinds of complicated riffs on there. But when you think of The Calling, it's pretty much a simplistic riff, but powerful.
Yeah, I think that was our attempt at trying to do something a little more simple. We were in their studio, and I think Dean and Carey came up with the inception of that song, and yeah, I think that's where it stemmed from. Like, hey, let's just try to do something a little more simple. I think that's what we were going for.
And I think it personifies what the album's about. I think it's a good first single to kind of say what this album's all about.
That's perfect, yeah. I do believe.
Now, for some reason, I thought there was a video for Bad Moon Rising, but apparently there isn't one, is there?
We never did a video for Bad Moon Rising, no.
I don't know why I thought
we were about to do a video for Cry Out. We were actually booked on the Alice Cooper tour in England, and this was our itinerary. We were going to play Wembley with Alice Cooper and some other bands, and they were going to film a video for Cry Out. And at the last minute, we got bumped off. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason was, but so that fell through. So we never really did another video off that record. I think it was just The Calling was the only video we really did.
Who did you guys tour with?
And then Hideaway.
Who'd you guys tour with on that tour?
On that album, we just played some dates around the States and club dates. Island never backed us with the tour. That was pretty much, the biggest downfall was that we really didn't have the tour support from a record label. So we did a lot of club dates. We just did some shows with White Line and Great White and Queensryche, back in those days. And I think that year we toured Europe with a band called Zed Yago. They're a German band. And on Street Ready, we toured with, I don't know, I can't remember. Did a bunch of shows with, we never went on a really long tour with one band. We were a lot of times thrown on as openers for, other bands and did what we could.
Well, let's jump to Street Ready. I mean, once again, another killer album. I think every song is great on there. But when you get to the song Street Ready, to me, that really has the hair metal vibe. Was that label pressure, or did you guys want to dabble there? How did that work out?
No, I think we came up with that because when we wrote that record, we were on the road. I think all those songs were written in the band touring around America when we were touring on the Calling record. And before we would write songs in our studio, and those songs were in progress for a few years before we did that. So the Street Ready record was kind of written on the streets and driving around in the van. I think that's kind of where it came from.
And then, of course, you got another killer opening single, Hideaway.
Yeah, I wish that first single would have been Thunder, but the record company really wanted to do Hideaway, but I think Thunder would have had much more impact.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's so many tracks on there. Take a Chance, Too Much Is Never Enough, Lonely Road. I mean, you could have had 3 or 4 singles if they'd invest the money, right?
Right. I thought that was a very strong record. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
So what happened with the end of Leatherwolf? Did you guys change your name and change it up a little bit right before it ended, or?
We did change it up. Me, Jeff, and Carrie started a new band, Hail Mary. I wouldn't say we changed the name because the direction changed and kind of everything changed in '89 and '90. Hindsight, we didn't stick to our guns, and just, hey man, in hindsight, we should have just taken 6 months to a year off and done some other things and reevaluating a little bit. But I think we maybe got impatient, or we had some issues with personalities in the band, and things were just getting weird, and it was just a weird time in music for everybody.
Oh yeah, I mean it comes up every interview we do. We always talk about early '90s. Tough for any band that was associated with the '80s hard rock and metal scene.
Yeah. It's a common occurrence. We all went through it.
So you talked about this album.
I was at that time. I wanted to try other things. Although I'm a huge a metaler at heart, but I also have, many other influences in music. And I was starting to play piano. At the time I went to college, and I started taking piano classes, getting back into, just music, and, bought a banjo, and I bought a bunch of different instruments, a saxophone. I just started just diving into a bunch of different instruments. And Lenny Kravitz came out at that time, and I was super inspired, and I'm like, I want to do some more of this. So I kind of started doing my own solo records, and just kind of didn't have to really compromise too much on songwriting, and just doing what I kind of felt like my heart wanted to do, and I've just been happy with that. That was kind of the journey.
Do you think that sometimes metal just gets too restrictive?
Not if that's where you decide, hey man, this is what we're gonna do, and this is what our band is, and then as long as everybody plays by the rules and wants to stick inside those realms, then no. Because there's, some of my favorite metal songs are, what is metal? I mean, like Before the Dawn by Judas Priest. That's not a metal song, but it's done by a metal band. So if you want to step out of those lines, and that's what I like. That's what I thought Leatherwolf was about and should be about. But that's a good point because the formula was to stick inside those lines and do not cross outside of this circle, and here's what we're going to do. And so for me, I got kind of a little confining because of, obviously you hear where my roots are and what, you've heard the songs that I do, and it's a little outside of that. So to do only that, for me, would be, it's constrictive. If I just said, okay, this is all I can do for the rest of my life, then I would feel I wouldn't be able to express myself as how I would like to.
Yeah, and I don't even think it comes from the band. I mean, it seems like, especially in the 80s, it's like label pressure. You know what I mean? You've got to fit in this mold. You've got to look this way. You've got to do this. And I think some of that ultimately destroyed the genre.
Yeah, and a lot of that was self-imposed, bands. I don't think a lot of that came from the labels, but maybe, the bands, everybody thought we had, if you look, the labels didn't tell you how to cut your hair, but everybody had the same haircut.
Right.
So you can only blame that one on the labels so far. Labels don't tell you, I need you to sound like Motley Crue, just people who started sounding like Motley Crue.
True.
Or Dave, so. But then again, labels at the time weren't going to really sign anything unless it fell into this box, so to speak.
Definitely.
And then bands, every once in a while, bands come in and step outside of that box and do something, like Guns N' Roses, and it's like, oh wait, hey, cool, wait, check this out.
Yeah.
So everything, it changes up, it's always going to change up.
So let's fast forward.
I don't know what the deal is now.
Yeah, it's tough. So let's fast forward a little bit in time. So you kind of touched on this. That there was an album, World Asylum by Leatherwolf, and then it became New World Asylum. So how did that happen? So there was another singer on it, and then you came back in the band and you just re-recorded the vocals?
I left the band. I started doing my solo thing. It was like, it was taking a long time for these songs to get done, and I was like, I just really feel like I should just, I had a family, I had a house, I was living about an hour away, and my business was doing really good, and I was making really good money, and I was like, God, this is becoming kind of a distraction. So I had my own home studio at my house, and so I just really started diving into my record, and I said, hey, guys, just get another guy. So they got another guy. They got Wade Black, and Wade came in, and while Wade was doing the record, I would come down and help out with backup vocals and, do whatever harmonies I could and help Dean out. It was always a bro kind of situation. And then Wade left for whatever reasons, and they asked me to go do this European tour that was already booked. And I was like, I feel kind of silly singing on, the record, singing those songs. So I go, how about if we just go re-record the vocals and we'll call it New World Asylum? So that's how that came about.
Nice. I've dipped into that one a little bit, but I think, and I kind of understand what you were talking about earlier, because this just seems like a straight ahead metal. I don't hear any of the other elements that you added on some of your earlier albums. I don't hear the synth and all that kind of stuff. So that just seems like a little bit more straightforward than some of your other stuff.
Well, like I said, I didn't have anything to do with the writing in there. And if you're used to this certain kind of soup that Mom used to make, and you go over to Mom's house, and she goes, well, why does the soup taste the same? It's like, oh, we were out of salt. Oh. So you take one ingredient out of something that you're used to tasting, and it's not going to taste the same anymore, So that's what I was saying. When they were making that record, I didn't have anything to do with the writing, although I was rooting him on and coming over Dean's and hanging and listening to the record and see what he was doing. And Jeff wrote a killer record. Jeff wrote that whole record. He's incredible. So, I didn't want to, like, when I came in and redid the vocals, I didn't want to re-record any, rewrite any of the tunes or anything. And I just kind of kept it for what it was. And, Wade kicked ass on it. So it was a challenge for me. I had to really step up my metal voice to do it. So, I was up for the challenge. So that's how that whole thing came about.
And then I've watched some festival shows you guys have done, and I think you've got stuff that's really not that old that's out there on YouTube where you guys are playing together. And, your voice still sounded killer for sure. But maybe you can answer this one. When it comes to these festivals, do you also have to pretty much go straight ahead metal, you know what I mean, to fit in with the other groups that are there?
Yes and no. We try to play our, heavier set and the songs that are going to, keep more attention, obviously. And you usually get shorter sets, so you don't want to, play, you want to keep the energy up when you get those shorter sets, I think. But as far as, like, I try to, bring my A game vocally whenever I can. Those festivals are kind of tough because usually sometimes you're flying overnight, you're not sleeping, you get there in the morning, wait, what time are we on? And so, as a singer, it's all about sleep and stuff. Or you're doing a bunch of shows just to support yourself, and you're playing a bunch of clubs and you're on the road, sleeping in funky hotels, not sleeping, and then, it's festival day. Oh, what do you mean they're gonna broadcast this live worldwide? So you really, you got to step it up and you do your best. But yeah, you want to. Just the energy alone of those shows, it gets you going anyway. So it's a natural shot in the arm, the adrenaline.
So at this point, do you think that this is it? You're done with Leatherwolf going forward?
I'll never say never. At this point, they got their own thing going. They got a new singer. They got a new record going on. Wish them the best. That's all cool. I got my solo record with the M.O.B, and I got this other project I'm recording with these other guys. So, who knows? Who knows?
Definitely. Well, hey, man, I wish you a lot of luck with the new projects that you're working on. And when you're ready to...
Thank you, Mike.
When you're ready to release it to the public, you let me know. I'll put it out on my Twitter, and we'll promote it.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Have a good night. Take care.
That was a great interview with Michael. I love all those classic albums. And make sure you check out his new album. Links will be in the description. Rock on!